When federal agents finally cracked open the hidden closet in Sean Diddy Combs' Star Island mansion, even the most seasoned investigators froze. Stacked beside designer luggage and platinum plaques lay 2 dismantled assault rifle frames, just feet from crates of baby oil, candles, and velvet restraints. In that moment, the glitzy myth of a self-made hip-hop billionaire collided head-on with a darker legend prosecutors now call a decade-long trafficking ring. How did one of music's most influential moguls go from red carpet royalty to facing a potential 15-year sentence? The answer, according to 16 witnesses, scores of seized devices, and a hotel hallway video the jury can't unsee, wins through secret parties dubbed Freakoffs, hush money payouts, and a firebombed Porsche linked to rapper Kid Cudi. Yet the story begins and maybe ends with Cassie Ventura, the young singer who says she spent 10 years trapped in a cycle of diamonds, designer trips, and relentless violence. Tonight, we'll pull back that velvet curtain section by section, starting with Cassie's pregnancy day testimony, rolling through ex-assistants who claim they were paid to erase crime scenes, and ending with the bombshell witnesses prosecutors still haven't called. Stay locked in. By the time we're done, you may never hear Bad Boy for Life the same way again. Cassie Ventura was barely 19 when a Bad Boy Records contract flipped her from aspiring model to platinum dream pop hope. In court, she says the deal came with invisible handcuffs. By her account, Sean Combs overwhelmed her with gifts and promises, then tightened control until every hour, friend and outfit required his sign-off. She told jurors that intimate freak-offs, drug-soaked parties where strangers were paid to perform while Combs watched, became routine, and refusal sparked rage. The cycle, she testified, mixed diamonds with threats. Missed calls meant punishment. Eye contact with male strangers prompted public slaps. And a hallway beating in 2016 left her eyes swollen and purple. Photos the jury has now seen. Cassie says terror drove her into pills and thoughts of unaliving herself. Yet she kept returning, convinced escape would backfire on family and friends. When she finally filed a civil suit in November 2023, Combs paid a reported $20 million to settle without admitting fault, but the allegations triggered the federal probe now threatening his empire. 8 months pregnant, Cassie spent 4 days on the stand this month, her calm recital of decade-old injuries contrasting with the video prosecutors rolled next. Hotel security footage of Combs dragging her across a marble floor. But cameras never blink, and what they captured in that Los Angeles corridor may be the image that haunts this jury. The image is grainy, but the violence needs no HD. At 2:07 a.m. on March 5th, 2016, hotel cameras at LA's Intercontinental captured Sean Combs lunging, grabbing Cassie Ventura by the hair, and yanking her across a marble corridor toward their suite. Moments later, security supervisor Israel Flores reaches the scene and walks straight into a stare he later called devilish. Flores testified that Ventura's eye had already blossomed purple. When he tried to usher her downstairs, Combs allegedly blocked the elevator, peeled a thick wad of bills from his pocket, and murmured, "Handle this? Nobody needs to know." Flores refused, escorted Ventura to safety, and filed the incident report that let prosecutors play the video for jurors 9 years later. Defense lawyers admit the beating happened, but insist it was jealous rage unconnected to trafficking. For the jury, the tape is harder to spin, 30 silent seconds that turn rumor into undeniable sight and sound. The parties sounded like plot lines ripped from late-night cable, dim suites splashed with candlelight, bowls of baby oil lining the floor, and a silent host perched in a corner, recording every move. Male escorts Daniel Phillip and Sheree Hayes told jurors they were flown in, handed up to $6 grand, and ordered to stage erotic theater, while Cassie followed Combs' whispered cues. Refusal, they said, wasn't on the menu. One misplaced glance earned Cassie a bottle hurled past her face before Combs dragged her by the hair into another room. What chilled prosecutors even more were the props waiting off stage. When agents raided Combs' Star Island mansion, they cataloged shelves of lingerie, stacks of lubricants, and, only a few feet away, 2 AR-15 lowers with their serial numbers ground off, plus a loaded handgun tucked inside designer luggage. The government's theory is simple. Pleasure and menace walked hand in hand, and the threat of sudden violence kept guests compliant long after the music stopped. Defense lawyers insist the gatherings were nothing more than consensual kink, but jurors have already seen the inventory photos and heard escorts describe Cassie's visible flinches. And just before court recessed, prosecutors hinted they may tack on weapons charges if those rifle parts prove operable, an escalation that could push the Bad Boy founder from celebrity scandal into federal time. Yet even the people paid to pleasure and keep quiet weren't the only ones watching. Next up are the insiders paid to clean up the mess. David James still remembers his job interview at Bad Boy headquarters. A staffer pointed to Diddy's portrait and whispered, "This is Mr. Combs' kingdom. We're all here to serve in it." The phrase would haunt him 2 years later when, as Combs' personal assistant, he found himself stocking hotel suites with a so-called freak-off bag. Candles, baby oil jugs, Astro Glide, a Bluetooth speaker, fresh liquor, and spare clothes. Then scrubbing every surface before housekeeping could see the aftermath. James told jurors his duties stretched far past janitorial. One night in 2008, Combs spotted rival executive Sue Goodnight at Mel's Diner. According to James, the mogul popped a home safe, armed himself with 3 handguns, dressed head to toe in black, and ordered James to drive flat out across Los Angeles. By the time they screeched into the parking lot, Knight was gone. But the ride convinced James his own life was now collateral. If James supplied the muscle, fellow assistant George Kaplan supplied the cover-up. Testifying under immunity, Kaplan described 100-hour work weeks fixing problems, rushing ahead to drape furniture, light candles to mask chemical smells, and, when Freakoffs ended, wiping baby oil off marble so hotel staff couldn't film the mess for profit. He quit after discovering Cassie Ventura sobbing and bruised in Combs' bedroom. "I felt guilty that cleaning it up made me part of it," he told the jury. Both men said free choice evaporated inside that kingdom. Speak up and risk blackballed careers. Or worse. Their accounts paint a closed loop of decadence and intimidation that prosecutors say kept victims compliant long after the party lights dimmed. And if employees felt trapped, imagine the chart-topping stars orbiting Combs' world. Up next, the A-listers who say jealousy turned lethal. Fame usually shields its own, but the ripple from Cassie's accusations is dragging A-listers into the witness box, and the stories get darker with every star who speaks. Kid Cudi, the genre-bending rapper known for moonlit anthems, told jurors his short romance with Cassie detonated a private war he never saw coming. One night in 2011, an assistant phoned in a panic. "Mr. C is inside your house." By the time Cudi raced home, Christmas gifts were ripped open, drawers dumped, and his dog locked in the bathroom. Weeks later, someone slit the soft top on Cudi's Porsche, dropped a lit Molotov cocktail inside, and melted the car into a blackened shell. Cudi never saw the arsonist, but he swears the timing screamed retaliation, especially after Combs allegedly vowed to blow up any man Cassie dared to date. The defense calls it wild speculation. Prosecutors call it another brushstroke in a portrait of power-fed vengeance. Pop singer Dawn Richard carries a different scar. Back in 2009, she says Combs stormed into Cassie's kitchen, raging about poorly cooked eggs, swung a hot skillet at her head, then punched Cassie with a closed fist before a Central Park music festival. Cassie donned sunglasses to hide the bruise. Dawn slipped on her own pair in solidarity. A silent SOS now immortalized in paparazzi photos. At a star-packed dinner soon after, Usher, Nayo, music titan Jimmy Iovine all at the table. Richard claims Combs jabbed Cassie in the stomach mid-meal. She kept quiet then, fearing exile from the industry he ruled. Cassie's former best friend Carrie Morgan reinforces the pattern. She testified about seeing Combs drag Cassie down a Jamaican hallway by her hair, and years later claimed he choked her with a coat hanger while demanding the name of Cassie's new man. Morgan took a $30,000 hush payment and signed an NDA, one she's now ripped up in open court. Threaded together, these moments sketch the same equation prosecutors repeat like a chorus. Private jealousy plus public power equals a weaponized empire willing to torch cars, wield kitchenware, or flash cash to erase the evidence. Yet if celebrities felt the heat, ordinary insiders felt the flames even closer. Up next, the expert who explains why victims don't just run, and how that psychology could sway the entire verdict. On day 8, the prosecution wheeled in no celebrity, no shocking video, just a soft-spoken forensic psychologist named Dr. Dawn Hughes. Her job was to answer the question every juror was asking in silence. If it was that brutal, why didn't Cassie just leave? Hughes explained that abusive relationships often forge an intense psychological loop called a trauma bond. Abusers mix affection, luxury, and moments of calm with bursts of fear, gradually teaching the victim that survival means pleasing the person who hurts them. No one wants to be abused, she told the court. They stay because constant control, threats, and isolation make escape feel more dangerous than staying. She broke it down into everyday traps: isolation, friends screened, phones monitored, so the victim's only sounding board is the abuser; financial leverage, designer gifts that double as golden handcuffs; in Cassie's case, a career contract controlled by the man she feared; threat of public humiliation. Hughes noted how revenge tape blackmail can freeze a victim in place, exactly what Cassie's mother says forced her to take out a home equity loan. Intermittent kindness, lavish trips, and diamond chokers reset the cycle, convincing the victim their partner can still be loving. Learned helplessness. After years of unpredictability, the brain shifts to micro-survival. How do I avoid the next slap instead of long-range escape plans? You're just trying to live day to day in a very micro way, Hughes said. Crucially, Hughes reminded jurors she never evaluated Cassie directly. Her testimony was a lens, not a diagnosis. Still, the timing mattered. After days of celebrity drama, her clinical calm reframed the story from gossip to textbook coercive control. And for at least one silent juror, the answer to why didn't she run now echoed back: because the cage was built in her head first. But clinical theory won't decide the verdict, hard evidence will. Next, we pit the defense's consent narrative against the prosecution's pattern of force playbook and ask, whose story fits the facts the jury can actually see? The courtroom has become a chessboard, and Sean Combs' lawyers are banking on one move: consent. They concede the hallway beating, the skillet swing, even the baby oil soirees. But they insist every lurid detail, aside from the burst of jealousy-fueled violence, unfolded between willing adults. In their telling, Cassie was a lover spoiled by luxury. The escorts were high-paid professionals, and freak-offs were nothing more than non-mainstream voyeurism. Trafficking, they call it a government overreach. Their strategy shows in every cross-examination. When Daniel Phillip faltered over whether Diddy told him to stay or leave after a bottle-throwing episode, the defense pounced. Which version is true? They rolled out years of flirty texts to paint Cassie as an eager partner, and highlighted Dawn Richards' shifting memories to question credibility. When Kid Cudi linked Diddy to the firebombed Porsche, the defense moved to strike, branding the claim speculative buzz. They can't erase the bruises, so they're erasing the intent behind them. Prosecutors counter with a drumbeat: pattern plus power equals coercion. Jealousy isn't a defense, they argue. It's the fuel. Assistant after assistant describes hush money, NDAs, and cleanup kits. Escorted strangers recount the same dim rooms, the same whispered orders. Agents display rifles with scratched off cereal sitting beside velvet restraints. To the government, those details knit a single tapestry: intimidation front-loaded into erotic theater until no became impossible. It's a duel of lenses. Hold the facts up to the defense glass, you see consensual excess punctured by drug-driven tantrums. Tilt toward prosecution, you glimpse a superstar converting fame into a private kingdom where fear keeps the gates shut. The jury must decide which frame locks into place around the hallway tape, the black-eyed photos, and the charred Porsche shell. And just as deliberations draw near, prosecutors hint at a final flourish. New witnesses poised to reveal what, until now, only inner circle text threads have whispered. Court resumes tomorrow, and the next voices could tilt the scales for good. Court reconvenes with two names prosecutors have saved for the crescendo. First up is Capricorn Clark, the assistant who once managed Diddy's calendar travel, and according to Cassie's email, the $20,000 hush payment meant to bury those alleged tapes. If Clark confirms the payoff, the government locks in a money trail from threat to transaction. Next come representatives from the Los Angeles Fire and Police Departments to dissect the still unsolved firebombing of Kid Cudi's Porsche. Their testimony, logs, lab data, any hint of accelerant could nudge the blaze from rumor to retaliatory act, shoring up the prosecution's force and fear narrative. But the gallery buzzes about witnesses we haven't seen. Industry chatter says at least two former Bad Boy artists are weighing civil suits. Insiders whisper of additional laptops the feds are still decrypting. Even if the criminal case ends in a hung jury, a flood of depositions and documentaries could follow, dragging the culture through months of raw re-examination. Labels have already frozen royalty payments, and brand partners are scrubbing ads that once flaunted the Ciroc King's grin, so the stakes stretch far beyond a single verdict. If the jury buys the defense's consent frame, hip-hop may chalk the saga up to excess and move on. If they side with prosecutors, the ruling won't just topple a mogul, it could trigger the biggest reckoning the music business has faced since the Me Too movement. And that leaves one final question hanging in the air, one only 12 strangers can answer. Was this empire built on luxury or on fear? Your take? Drop it in the comments and stay tuned. The next witness might land before this video even finishes climbing your feed.